What's going on, guys? It's Tetrosphere, and I have for us today another match from the 1v1 case tournament at GalaxyBusterTCG that was hosted in commemoration of the release of Justice Hunters. I forget exactly what round this is. It might be 4, it might be 5. We do have Brock Sarabin, who is now making his third appearance in this series on the left, and on the right we have Dylan Isaac, who may or may not be making his channel debut. I'm not 100% certain if he's been on this channel before. Regardless, phenomenal player. I'm really excited to see this match. I'm really a big fan of both these guys. But before we get started, we do of course have the question of the day, and what I want to know from you guys down below is it appropriate to drink coffee at 4 p.m.? We all know where I stand. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump on into the match. It does look like we have Brock starting things off with a Cookie Yummy normal summon, which Dylan says is alright with him. Or perhaps he says he's thinking, because it seems like we have some pause here on the side of Brock. Seems like we're okay here. My guess is they might have jumped the gun on the timer. Regardless, we're going to go ahead and link one into Yummy Snatchy, which is of course going to play the field spell, which will allow us to extend from grave. At this point, we've not been met with any resistance from Dylan. So we're going to go ahead and use the effect of the field spell to revive Cookie from grave, and we now have our synchro play online using, of course, the Link 1 and the main deck monster into Cupsy Yummy, which is going to attempt to add to discard 1. This will be met with Dominus Purge. Now, Dominus Purge first is a bit unfortunate, because if this does force a grind game here, we will not be able to use Ash Blossom, and even in our opening play, we won't be able to use Kagari. Regardless, we go ahead and tag out, just because why not? That way we can at least synchro again, or perhaps try to plan our opponent's turn. But whether or not we tag out, the search does not resolve. So we're going to go ahead and synchro into the Lollipop Yummy Way, which is going to summon 2 from grave. Looking at our hand here, considering any other synchro plays, I don't believe we're locked into anything at this time. We didn't start off with like an Obedient Schooled or anything like that, so a Synchro 3 is online, a Link 2 is online. I do believe we cannot make a Link 3. I think that's where Yummy Snatchy locks you. But we're going to go ahead and link off into another Snatchy for one reason or another, and then special summon Cookie from hand. So we did have an extender. We're going to go ahead and set one, which may or may not be a surprise. And we are going to pass it over to Dylan, who pounds the table, obviously not very happy with his top deck. Let's see if he can navigate this board without the use of effects of like Kagari or Ash Blossom. Fortunately, Purge does not conflict with cards like Ghost Bell, so another good hand trap in the Yummy matchup. Ghost Bell is still online here. And we're going to go ahead and open up our own field spell, which this is the Akroki, the other field spell, which does not see as much attention as the other. This one doesn't really offer you any sort of extension, but it does give you removal whenever you perform a Synchro Summon. Or specifically a Synchro Summon of a Light Beast, if I'm not mistaken. That resolves, and we're going to go ahead and go into Obedient School, the God card. So this turn, although it has a lot of ceiling because of the Obedient School, that ceiling is actually brought down quite a bit by the attribute restriction of Dominus Purge, in combination now with the Beast Lock of Obedient Schooled. So while we have a lot of bodies to work with, our flexibility has been greatly reduced. Let's see if Brock has anything on summon. It looks like on resolution of the Obedient Schooled, we are going to attempt the Yummy Snatchy effect from the EMZ to perform a Synchro Summon. Looks like a Synchro 2 or 3 is online. We could either use a Link in a main deck, or the Lollipop and the Cookie to make a Synchro 3. Dylan, considering responding, it seems like he may have something like a Forbidden Droplet in the hand. He is going to activate Droplet, sending a spell, sending that Engage, which makes a lot of sense because obviously we can't even use the Kagari. However, if we only send the spell, the other Yummy Snatchy, being a soft once per chain, it is my understanding that that can also respond and attempt it from a Synchro Summon. So we may need to also send a monster so that okay, so we're sending 2 spells. So we are trying to negate 2, but we're going to allow monsters to respond, but we don't even respond. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and negate I mean, we gotta negate the... We're just gonna negate both Link ones. Okay, so there's no Synchro Summon going on here, but the Lalipo tag out is still online. However, the only... Lalipo actually does need to tag out into 2 names, and I think the graveyard's just the 1 cookie, so that might not even actually be a play either. We're gonna Synchro Summon into... Looks like that's the cookie Yummy Way, and then of course the field spell there is going to trigger to pop a card. What do we decide to pop? It looks like we're trying to force the back row, which we do that, sending the Yummy Snatchy, and we're going to go ahead and resolve Droplet, negate the... Or no, I'm sorry, that's the Cupsy Yummy Way, not the cookie. Now, the good news is for Brock that we now have 2 Yummy names in rotation, so the Lalipo tag out into a Snatchy and a cookie is online, which means not only can we synchro with that Snatchy once it hits the field, we also have the ability to get a destruction effect with the cookie, because it will have been summoned by the effect of a Synchro Monster. Dylan's going to link off his own Synchro Monster into the Snatchy, which is trying to place the other field spell. Brock responds to the tag out, as we've mentioned, going into Snatchy and Cookie. Of course, Brock will likely have some triggers here in the form of the Cookie. And Cookie is going to target Dylan's Link 1. Dylan, of course, chains the Link 1 to perform a Synchro Summon. Brock considering if he wants to respond with a Synchro Summon of his own at this time. May or may not be necessary. If you do the Synchro Summon now, you can be a bit more proactive instead of reactive. However, your Synchro Summon will resolve before Dylan's, which means Dylan may be able to make a better decision about what he goes into, seeing what you put on the field. That seems to be fine. However, we do respond with the Synchro Summon on the side of Brock, going into our own Cupsy Yummy Way, and then Dylan is going to resolve his, going into, with that glare I cannot quite tell. I guess we're going to find out with its effect. But Cupsy is going to attempt to add to discard 1. And it looks like we're going to immediately tag out. And we're also going to tag out on the side of Brock. Okay, so this is some real Ritual Beast gameplay going on here. Lots of tagging in and out, hitting the field. This is one of those mirrors where you really got to pay attention to your chain links, make sure you're resolving things correctly, because there is a lot going on. A lot of these effects activate in response to other effects. They can't just be activated in... I shouldn't say a lot of them, but all the Synchro Monsters effects can't simply be activated in open game state. They do need to respond to something. So when you get those opportunities to trigger them, you are somewhat inclined to take them because you're not so sure when you're going to get one again. All right, so... Yes, Dylan directing him to go ahead and resolve his Cupsy. Gonna add 2, then discard 1, and then we're gonna be resolving our own effect, the tag out, and I believe Chain Link 1 was the summon from Grave, if I'm not mistaken. That might have been what that just was there. No, that must be what we're doing now. Okay, so we've tagged out into a Cupsy, the Cupsy Yummy Way, the Snatchy, and the Lalipo. We're attempting Cupsy here to add discard 2, but Brock does have a Dominus Purge of his own. And we're gonna tag out. Only options for tag out here being the Snatchy and the Cookie. So we're going to go ahead and attempt Snatchy to perform a Synchro Summon. This is good. We're going to go ahead and go into... That's the Cookie Yummy Way. And then Cookie is going to target to... Oh, no, that's not the pop. Lalipo is the banish. I think Cookie's the pop. I may have that backwards, but I'm pretty sure that's how it is. Regardless, I believe, yeah, both are being triggered here. So it looks like Cookie is trying to destroy Snatchy, and then Lollipop, he didn't point out physically what target, but I'm sure he targeted something engraved to banish. And then, of course, Brock has his own trigger, the Cupsy, to attempt to place 2 monsters in face-down defense position. Seems like we're discussing something. I'm sure we're just clarifying game state, what was summoned off of what, if anything's negated. And it seems like at this point we are going into our extra deck. So my guess is on resolution, or not resolution rather, but when priority passes back to Brock, he might be attempting to activate the Snatchy effect to perform a synchro summon, which would make sense because I do believe that was the target for Dylan's Cookie Yummy. And it looks like he doesn't respond. At whatever point, Dylan must have activated an effect to perform a synchro with his own, so that's going to hit the board here. We do have Cookie Yummy Way. And then Brock's is going to resolve, and it looks like one of them missed target. Cookie is going to pop Brock's Snatchy, and then Cupsy is going, or Dylan's Cookie Yummy Way is going to attempt to Book of Moon Brock's Cookie Yummy Way and Cookie. And in response, Brock is going to tag out, and then Dylan is going to tag out. So we now have, once again, a Yummy Snatchy and a Cookie hitting the board on both sides. Keeping in mind that Dylan has been beast locked this entire time, so he does not have the option to go into something like an SP Little Knight or an IP to make an IP in the next turn. He doesn't have anything as far as like Metal Marcher into Herald. All these things, if he wants to do them, will need to be done on Brock's turn. So he's going to go ahead and link off the Cookie into the Snatchy and then use the field spell to revive the Cookie. We're looking at going to make a big battle phase push here because all of them are gaining 5 times. They're all gaining 2,500 attack. So we're quite large here in all regards. I mean, before taking base stats into consideration, we are looking at 12,500 damage. But we do have 3 monsters that we need to run over as well. Seems like we might not be doing that. We might just be going into battle phase, or might not be doing any synchro summoning to try to clear those monsters. Just going to go ahead and go into battle phase and try to remove them through battle. But Snatchy is going to attempt to synchro summon. This is going to succeed. And we are going to go ahead and go into our Cookie Yummy Way. Seems like we might be choosing not to redeclare. Keep in mind, Brock's monsters are also gaining attack off the field spell, closing the gap a bit more. Alright, we're going to go ahead and crash Cookies. Oh, does the field spell also boost your opponents? Let me... Where's my phone? That is interesting. Yummy's mapping on. Yummy monsters you control. Gain 500 attack for each light beast monster on the field, not just light beasts you control. So they are all gaining the same stats. This makes Yummy killing into a Yummy board pretty difficult. Looks like we're going to go ahead and pass it back over to Brock, who draws for turn, unable to beat over that Cookie. Difficult to say some of these sentences. possibly the most difficult commentary piece I've ever done. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and either normal or special summon YuGiOh. And we did ask to see Dylan's grave, so that might have been why. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and shuffle that cookie back into the deck. This way... Well, that doesn't really take care of any tag outs, does it? Because what would have to happen is Dylan would have to use Snatchy effect to perform a synchro summon, which would put 2 names in grave anyway. But we do go ahead and special summon Cookie Yummy to search, and then Dylan responds with Snatchy to synchro, which Brock responds with Cookie Yummy Way to tag out. Cookie Yummy and Yummy Snatchy hit the board. Resolving backwards, Dylan goes ahead and performs a synchro summon using a Snatchy and one of the level 1s into Cupsy Yummy Way. And now we're going to go ahead and resolve the Cupsy that Brock summoned to add a Yummy card from deck to hand. Of course, adding Surprise, and then here on Resolution, we do have Cupsy Yummy Way to add 2, discard 1. As turn player, Brock does have priority, so he does have Chainlink 1, Cookie Yummy, and because I believe this one was summoned off the effect of a Synchro Monster, it can target to pop. So we are going Chainlink 1, Cookie, to target one of the Snatchies and pop, and then Chainlink 2 is going to be Cupsy Yummy Way on the side of Dylan to add 2, discard 1. In response, Brock is going to activate Yummy Snatchy to perform a Synchro Summon. This may oblige Dylan to perform a tag out, but it looks like he does not. So, Snatchy and Cupsy make Lollipop Yummy Way, and then Cupsy Yummy Way on the side of Dylan adds Cookie and Cupsy. Cookie gets discarded, Cupsy kept in the hand, and then Cookie Yummy is going to, or I did whatever got popped gets sent to grave. Regardless, Lollipop does have triggers on summon, and then Dylan is going to respond by tagging out with his Cupsy Yummy Way to summon 2 from grave. I believe Lollipop was attempting to summon 2 from grave with their effects negated, as it's on summon effect. No response from Brock, and Dylan goes ahead and summons Cupsy and Cookie from grave, and then Brock summons Snatchy and Cupsy from grave, their effects being negated. I don't know that Brock would have any triggers here, but Dylan certainly has the Cookie and the Cupsy. Cookie, of course, can pop something, and then Cupsy can add a Yummy card or draw 1. It looks like we're targeting the Lollipop, trying to pop, or no, we're targeting the Cookie? Okay. We're going to go ahead and let that resolve. With a full board there, I don't think Brock would have been able to tag out. So that was a pretty opportune time to perhaps pop the Lollipop, but for whatever reason, we felt like popping the Cookie was better. On Resolution and Open Game State, we're going to go ahead and link off the Cookie Yummy into a Yummy Snatchy. Watching this mirror match makes me very glad that I am not a Yummy player, because this looks like a complete nightmare, and I think I would rather cover my body in kerosene and light it on fire than participate in this sort of mirror match. But Some people are just built a little different than I am, I suppose. It looks like we're using the field spell now to revive Cookie Yummy from grave on the side of Brock. Dylan says this is fine. And looks like we're performing either a Link 2 or a Synchro Summon. And we're going to go ahead and Synchro Summon into Cookie Yummy Way. Looks like we're trying to Book of Moon the Cupsy and Cookie on the side of Dylan. My guess is Dylan responded with a Synchro Summon, and then here is Brock responding with a Tag Out, summoning the Lalipo and the Cupsy. Dylan goes ahead and brings out a Cookie Yummy Way of his own. One of the two targeted monsters does in fact get booked, and then Dylan's own Cookie Yummy Way will now try to book two. Looks like we're going to go for the Lalipo and the Cookie. This is definitely the kind of match where you really cannot take your eyes off for even a half second, or you're going to miss a mile of gameplay because there is just so much interaction, so much going on. Really just a very interesting and intertangled web. I don't even know if any battle damage has been inflicted yet, and we are about 20 minutes into this game, into this match. We're still on game one. It's the third term of the game, if I'm not mistaken. Regardless, we're going to go ahead and Synchro Summon Cupsy Yummy Way, which is trying to add 2, discard 1. The Book of Moon on the side of Dylan does successfully resolve on the Cookie in the leftmost monster zone there. And then in response to the Cupsy search, Dylan's going to tag out, and then in response to the Dylan tag out, Brock is going to tag out. Resolving the search, it looks like we add 2. I saw one of them was Lalipo, did not catch the other, and discard Fualos. Okay. So it's interesting because truly to like definitely advance on like a game state here and actually push for like at least push for some damage, if not push for game, one of these two players needs to get rid of the other one's field spell, and there's Surprise, which does have the ability to bounce cards. So it looks like we're going to try to bounce our Cupsy and our Snatchy. Or no, we're doing 2 Snatchies against Dylan's 2 Snatchies. Dylan tries to respond with a Synchro Summon from one of the Snatchies that was targeted. Looks like that goes through here. Synchro Summon resolves. Surprise resolves, returning those back to the extra deck. And what does Dylan grab out of the extra deck now? Looks like we're going for... Oh, he's just looking at what he added. It is a Cookie and a Lalipo. So we are going to go ahead and summon the Lalipo Yummy Way, which I think is the one that on summon summons 2 from grave. Looks like that is precisely what happened. Their effects, however, are negated. So we do have Snatchy and Cookie on the board. On Brock's side, we have a Cookie Yummy Way and a Cupsy Yummy on the board. So we are looking at a total of 4 light beasts, all now 5 light beasts. They're all gaining 2,500 attack. Will we even be able to run anything over. I mean, I'm pretty sure they only gain attack, not defense. So, yeah, they only gain attack. So getting over the synchro should be no problem. Should be able to get over the link with one of the main deck guys, and then beating over the face down or the face up Cupsy there should be no problem. But once we get to that point, I mean, Dylan's gonna have a couple bodies to work with. Looks like we're doing some maths here, trying to figure out what kind of damage. I mean, they're all gaining the same, so you can pretty much just basically act as if the damage, as far as damage is concerned, it's going to be equivalent to whatever their base stats was. Yeah, so you're down to 5,800. Cupsy's going to run over Cupsy, and then Cookie is going to run over the Synchro. Dylan now has a couple face downs remaining. It looks like Brock goes main phase 2. Revealing that he still has the Lollipop in hand that was added off of Cupsy Yummy Way. We are going to go ahead and link one back into Snatchy. And we are going to go ahead and summon Lollipop from hand. Or perhaps we already did that. Honestly, there's no shot I could have possibly remembered. This is just insane. This is we're now 25-ish minutes into game 1. Brock up on life, though, if I'm not mistaken. Regardless, it looks like we're going to either Synchro or Link 2. Looks like, yep, we are going to Link 2 with the SP. I'm not sure why the field spell did not get banished. And I'm also not sure who just scooped. Like, my guess is Dylan scooped when he saw his top deck, but it's also possible that Brock scooped when he realized he couldn't get rid of the field spell, although I'm not sure why he couldn't get rid of the field spell. I guess we'll find out what exactly happened there when we see whoever goes first. But, let me know down below if you guys are aware why the field spell didn't go away. Because I can't think of any reason why it wouldn't have, right? SP was made with a Link 1 and a monster, so its effect would trigger. Oh, he purged, didn't he? Didn't he purge from hand? That's right, he purged from hand, so he can't activate Dark Monster effects. SP, of course, is a Dark Monster, so SP can't trigger. The field spell stays. Yeesh. So to me, that just adds a little bit more layer of mystery on as far as like who actually scooped there, because it's possible that Brock realized he made himself kind of vulnerable by putting the SP on the field with absolutely no way to resolve its effect. But it also could be the fact that Dylan saw his top deck, didn't like it, and just decided to go to next game. I am very, very curious to see who actually goes next here, because I just gotta know. Because from that game state, I don't really feel like it was 100% possible to know. But definitely not the wave there making that SP Little Knight. The purge from hand, man. It's kind of funny because I made a big deal about that for Dylan in his first turn and ended up not really holding him back. And then Brock on the clapback, having purged from hand, it totally messes up his game plan. And the thing is, like, did he even need to make the SP there? Maybe, maybe not. You definitely wanted to get rid of the field spell. Not really sure exactly how else you would have done it. But it looks like players have drawn their hands. And let's see. Okay, so Dylan must have saw his top deck and not liked what he saw and scooped. So he's going to go ahead and start things off for us. Normal summoning YuGiOh, linking off into Snatchy. Snatchy, you have Field Spell, Revive YuGiOh from Grave. And we're going to go ahead and go for a Synchro 2 play into, with that Glare, it's impossible, but obviously it is the Cup C Yummy trying to search 2 and add, and then discard 1. So we're going to grab one of each of the Cookie and the Cup C and then discard Harpy's Feather Duster. Wait a minute. So either we keep that in, regardless of what we think's going on, or Brock actually did lose game 1, sent Dylan first, Dylan sided expecting to go second. This is insane. How are we into game 2 and I don't know still who won game 1? There is a chance that you just keep Harpy's Feather Duster in. Just because it's not like Lightning Storm. Excuse me, where it's like a dead draw when you have monsters on the board. It can kind of open things up in a grind game. So it's not out of the question that Dylan kept that in, even going first. But I do think it's a little more likely that he was sent first and sided for going second. It looks like we do have a Herald of the Arclight there, along with a YuGiOh. And we are going to go ahead and layer that board up with the SP Little Knights. Looks like we have an Ash Blossom and a Purge in hand. We set some spell card, probably Surprise. I may have missed it being added when I was yapping. And we pass turn over to Brock, who draws and gives Dylan's deck a good cut. Let's see how this goes for Brock. Playing into an SP, a Herald, some back row, some tagging out, a couple cards in hand. We're going to start off with Pot of Prosperity. So this is the third match in a row now that we've seen Brock able to successfully resolve this card. We do Ash it. Brock's thinking here, so he may have Called by the Grave. It's fine. Okay, so we trade the Pot of Prosperity for the Ash. Not the worst, depending on our hand. If our hand is still okay, we go for Engage. Do we purge this? If we purge this, that SP Little Knight is offline. So we do kind of need to carefully consider whether or not we interact with this, and it looks like we choose not to, so out comes Hornet Drones. Oh, we go evenly matched. We did force the battle phase, but we're just going to go ahead and negate that with Herald, of course. It's possible we were hoping to force that Herald with the Pot of Prosperity, although I don't know if that sort of thing would have gotten negated by that, but it may have been the case that we were hoping to pull something with the Prosperity that would have forced it before we even lead. Regardless, though, we do have the Forbidden Droplet to chain. We do send the evenly matched and a Cookie. Given that the evenly match was going to get negated anyway, this is a pretty decent way to get some value out of that. We do have Dylan in a position where he can only respond with a spell card, no monsters, no traps, and we are able to therefore negate the SP Little Knight and the Lollipop Yummy Way, which means we won't be able to tag out or temporarily banish with the SP at all. And it looks like here on resolution, we're going to go ahead and go for Yummy Surprise. And we're going to chain Hornet Drones. Possibly doing this so that way they can't tag out in response to the Hornet Drones. Kagari cannot be Book of Moon, so a tag out. Excuse me, into Snatchy plus another name to synchro into the book doesn't matter there. However, tagging out into the pop does. Kagari is still going to add Hornet Drones to hand, and then Snatchy and Cookie are going to hit the board. Cookie is going to pop Kagari, and then Snatchy is going to place another field spell, likely the Akroki, which will allow Dylan to pop another card when he performs a Synchro Summon. We're going to go ahead and go for Hornet Drones once again. Dylan's lone card in hand being Purge. And we normal summon Cupsy. So, everything's on the board. Oh, there it is. That must be the match. So, yeah, there's the handshake there. Yep, that's it. So it was the case, in fact, that Brock lost game one, scooped after realizing he blundered with the SP, and then sent Dylan first. However, that strategy did not work out for him. Other than the Harpy's Feather Duster, Dylan did not brick on any Charmies or irrelevant breakers or anything. He was able to still establish his board, had 2 hand traps to back it all up, and yeah, Brock did not draw any of his own Chummies if he's planning on trying to get those going. He didn't draw any of he didn't draw anything to force the Herald before being able to evenly matched, so the negation simply wasn't enough, wasn't able to clear the board, and yeah, Dylan was able to just kind of deal with everything else he could throw at him. So a 2-0 for Dylan, but definitely a very interesting match, a very exciting match. It was incredibly difficult for me to watch and commentate because there was just so much going on. Chains were resolving at lightning speed, but kudos to these players. Definitely a well-played match on both sides. They're both really excellent players, and I'm excited to see them on screen once again. Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.